And just a reminder that it is being recorded. So please keep yourself on mute when you're not sharing to limit background noise. So Reverend Amanda is from Shasta Abbey, a beautiful, beautiful Buddhist monastery right next to Mount Shasta. It's an amazing place. And she's going to be sharing on the topic of self-compassion. And since this week celebrates International Day of Peace, we were all inspired about this topic. Our founder, Dr. Hak Ja Han Moon, had a speaking campaign called Peace Begins with Me. So through self-compassion, we begin to experience that peace within. Reverend Amanda is uniquely qualified to share about this topic, as she has been an ordained monk since 2000, and she has been teaching Buddhist principles at Mount Shasta, and I'm sure other places as well. And I've had the privilege of being there and hearing her give Dharma talks and leading discussions, and I think you're all going to be really inspired today. So thanks for joining us, Reverend Amanda. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Roseanne. I have a question. Are people going to be able to ask questions at the end? Because I would very much like to open it up for a discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
We will have a time for Q&A. Yes.
Yes, great. Good. Okay. So as Roseanne said, I'm a monk at Shasta Abbey. Shasta Abbey was founded in 1970. I first came as a layperson in 1977 and moved to the monastery in 1998. I had, I had a family, have a family. I was married and I was a lay minister as a lay practitioner, which is what we have in our order for our lay congregation. Sometimes some people who are dedicated to the practice can become do become lay ministers, but it's one of those things where it's just got to be right for a number of circumstances. We moved to Mount Shasta from Montana in 1984 to be closer to the monastery, quite frankly, and ran a business in town. And our daughter went to Shasta Abbey at that time, had a little schoolhouse, a one-room schoolhouse on property off the monastery, because children are very noisy and active, and so it's hard to have a school at the monastery. So it was off about 3 miles away, and my daughter went to that school from the 1st grade through the 8th grade. So I've been a Buddhist for a really long time. I've been meditating probably since 1975, although my practice did not get very consistent and serious until I came to the Abbey. So as you know, I am a Buddhist monk. Shasta Abbey is a contemplative order. We teach meditation. We have retreats. We have a website. People can listen to our Dharma talk. All of that is welcome. Okay. So, and our website it can be found under Shasta Abbey or Buddhist monasteries or whatever. So I have a confession. I did not sleep very well last night, which is not uncommon for me. I actually have trouble at times sleeping, but this was a doozer. So if I'm a little, just bear with me if I'm not as sharp as I would like to be. So I'd like to talk about this topic, because one of the things I was struck by right from the beginning was self-care isn't selfish. And that's true on one level. It's very true. And true on the level that we're talking about being compassionate for oneself. But oftentimes self-care can be indulgent. So how do we find our way, which is what a spiritual practice is about from our perspective. It's our way of finding, of being able to listen and to take what we learn from our meditation. If you meditate, if you do contemplative prayer, or however, whatever your spiritual path is, you know, how do you discern what's going on? And so I'm going to talk, of course, I'm a Buddhist monk, so I'm going to talk from the perspective of a Buddhist monk, but it isn't about Buddhism, really. It's about, these are the truths that generally hold, although Buddhism has some very unique views. And one of the unique views is that the Buddha taught about the force of the universe, whatever you want to call that creative, that compassionate source, that it was unborn, undying, and uncreated. And that getting in touch with that source is the way to relieve the suffering of ourselves and of the world. So it's a very, you start with yourself and you work on yourself for years. And it's very wonderful. It's a very wonderful thing to do. And that meditation we did, I thought it was just very interesting. We don't think of a creator. We definitely believe we share that common ground of a source of something. We call it the unborn, the Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. I had one of my fellow monks who's at a temple in this country did an article on prayer, because she's trained as she's retired from the priory she's running, and she trained as an interfaith chaplain for a hospital. And she wrote a thing on prayer, because we don't talk about prayer a lot in Buddhism. And she was kind of talking about it. And I wrote her back an email and I said, oh yeah, I pray all the time. You know, so I think we all have so much in common. But how do we learn from ourselves? How do we shift our minds in a positive direction? How do we make peace with ourselves? And how do we make peace with the world? And I think that does come from self-compassion. It starts with us. We have to be compassionate to ourselves. There are many people who do good in this world, but they do not take good care of themselves, or they are not kind to themselves. And to some extent, they're missing. And I will point out from my own experience how you're missing when you don't take care of yourself. Because selfishness in Buddhism comes from clinging, holding on to our beliefs, our views, our sense of being separate from others, which encourages us to judge other people, to judge ourselves. So selfishness is the ultimate problem the world has in Buddhism. This is a Buddhist view. It's the ultimate problem, because it separates us from each other and from ourselves. And it believes that we're justified in whatever it is we struggle with, or whatever it is we think is right. So the question then becomes, well, how do you get out of that? And I think learning to have compassion is the flood, that water that that pours on this fire of separation, because the world's on fire. There's no question about it. The world is on fire. The intensity of the suffering right now it's not getting better, it's getting worse. Okay, so, and that's all right. This is out of our hands in one sense. We would all love it to be different, but the difference comes from us and from within us. And so we just work on ourselves and we make that an offering to this world. And the world can use that. Now, I have a physical problem. I got a virus in my heart in 2016, and in fact, almost died from it. And then recently, I have a pacemaker defibrillator, and recently, almost a year ago, I had a heart attack when I was at our Hermitage. And I am limited in what I can do physically. However, and I love this, it's the depth of our practice can be plumbed no matter what our circumstances. And so the self-care is actually critical, because as we have compassion for ourselves, it deepens how we have compassion for others, which is really important. I can actually hear when people are not being kind to themselves. I can hear it in the way they talk. And I think that just comes from listening to myself and listening. I started probably when I was a novice, listening to how I talked to myself when I made a mistake or when I did something that and believe me, we make lots of mistakes, right? And we say things to ourselves we do not say to other people. And I think that's really important. So one of the things about self-care that I would encourage everyone to start doing is listening to what goes on in your mind. Listen, don't try and stop it. Don't try and change it, but listen, because when we listen, we begin to go, oh, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Look at what I'm doing. And that's all you need. We don't have to fix ourselves. We don't have to fix the world. And self-compassion is this balm that we can put on, balm as in something, a ligament that helps us learn how to be kind to ourselves, because the world needs this kindness. This is what peace comes from. So the self-care from a Buddhist perspective has to involve the awareness of what one is doing, and then the compassion for oneself, and then it goes out to the world. Now, we all know we are where we are, and we start where we are. And so it doesn't mean we wait to become kind to ourselves. Okay, we practice kindness in the moment to ourselves, to others, and don't wait for some miraculous transformation to occur. It actually occurs in its own way through that source of the universe. The longer I train, the less I can do physically, the more I see that nothing matters in that sense. It's all right. My job is just to be kind as best I can. So I, like everyone else, have very deep love for this world, very deep love. And for the animals, for the plants, for the people. But on an individual basis, that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where it gets difficult. And that's why self-care is so important, because when we're compassionate to ourselves, it helps us to be compassionate to others. If you don't struggle keeping your mouth closed when you want to tell somebody what they're doing wrong, you don't know how to be tolerant and patient with someone that's telling you what they think you should be doing. So our own self-care enables us to be compassionate to others at a very deep level. And I think that's really an important aspect of self-care. We are the experiment. We are the I can't think of the word, but we are the very thing. We are the create. We create what is happening. So when we watch ourselves, when we take care of ourselves, when we learn to be tolerant of ourselves, whoa, that's a biggie, tolerant of ourselves. All those lifelong, many lives in Buddhism, but habitual patterns we have where we do things and we get, so why am I doing this yet again? Or the thing you hated that your mother did and you yourself are doing it. You know, I mean, we all know these things, but what do we do about it? And it's that kindness and compassion that opens us up to ourselves. And from my personal experience, the source of this universe is compassion and wisdom and love. And we have a deep desire to connect with that. And it starts with us. We have to face our own demons. We have to see when we're about to do something. And we know we shouldn't do it. And we're still so tempted, you know, you can see that. We're like little addicts, we can't stop. And to have compassion for that enables us to have compassion for others at a deeper level, because we know how hard it is. We are in sympathy with the world because it's hard work to change. And that sympathy is a very important part of our own practice. We have to be sympathetic to ourselves. We have to give ourselves that openness of, okay, you missed the mark on this one. And that's all. You don't have to judge. There's no judgment. There's just a recognition in this moment. Oh, I could have done better. Or that niggle that occurs after the fact. You know, when I first started training, I would turn around and look, and it was like there were all this damage. And I had all the best of intentions, okay? But you have to be able to look back and see the consequences of our action. It isn't enough to want to get along with everybody, because if we don't, then it's not going to change. So the change comes from within us. So this is why self-compassion is extremely important. And it's very hard to do. And we have to discern, because it can be selfish. Oh, I think I'll just go and do such and such because that'll be good for me. And is that right? Is it selfish or is it not? And we have to discern that. That discernment comes from within us. Are we disturbed on some level by what we're about to do? Are we do we have misgivings? Are we sad? Are we depressed about something that happened, about our own behavior? If we don't see this, then we won't change. But if we do see it, we have to see it with the eyes of compassion. Really important. How important our compassion is, because it nurtures us, and then we nurture the world. Now, to give the world peace is, I mean, I wish for peace every day, multiple times, not for myself. I mean, yes, I'm part of that. I am working on peace within, but I offer it constantly to the world. The world needs peace. I mean, think of what the world would be like if for 5 minutes everyone was kind and compassionate. 5 minutes would be revolutionary. Everything would stop. A lot of conversation would stop. Much conversation is not peaceful. We all know this. People are very polarized, but we don't have to be. And it starts with us. It starts with us. How do we not like what's going on, but not judge it, not push it away? This is what is. Loving what is, I think, is what a woman named Byron Katie says. Loving what is, you know, I think that's a truth. That's right. And it's so, it occurs throughout our day. Now, maybe because I've had I almost died. I literally did die, and my defibrillator shocked my heart back. But I've always been fascinated by death and dying. I was a hospice volunteer when I was a layperson. And what I see is that often in the dying process, people begin to live for the first time in their life. They really open up to what's important, and they open up to what can change their life. And they do a lot of healing. Some people, my mother did something the last 24 hours of my mother's life before she died, did enormous healing. So it's never too late. She taught me that you can change at the last moment, and it can do enormous good. However, we're all listening to this talk, so we can take that and bring it into our life. And so how do we live fully, and to realize that life is precious, that it doesn't go the way we want, and we have to surrender to that, that we are desperate for compassion, and so is the whole world. And it has to start with us. We have to be compassionate to ourselves, be patient with ourselves. And we also need to pay attention and listen. What's the important thing in our life? What is the important thing? When people die, they do not say, oh, I should have worked harder, or I should have cleaned the house. You know, none of those things in one sense matter. And of course we clean our house. Of course we tidy our room. Of course we do stuff. But where is our focus? Is our focus on kindness throughout our life, throughout our day? And is our focus also on being kind to ourselves and looking back every day at ourselves and saying, how did I do? Could I have done better? Because I don't know, I can drop dead at any point. I find that really helpful, because I don't have the feeling of, oh, well, I'll wait till tomorrow to tell so-and-so I'm sorry for being rude. No, I have to do it. You know, it's an impetus. And I encourage you to have that impetus in your life. Don't wait, do it. When you recognize something, don't wait. And I think a lot of the dying process is about people realizing, oh my God, I'm about to die, and there are things I have not dealt with. So don't do that. If you get nothing else out of this talk, just be more proactive. But the other thing I really want to emphasize about being kind to ourselves is that it involves a listening, a seeing what we're doing, and a listening to our heart, not our mind, but our heart. And what my experience is that we become, as we work on ourselves, we become the pipe through which the water flows. And I think that's how we really help the world. That's how world peace really happens. It isn't about us teaching people to become peaceful, though that helps. There's nothing that's not excluded from that. But it is really about getting ourselves out of the way and helping that which is much greater than ourselves help others. So it's not about me. And that's why self-care can be selfish if it's about me. But if it's about caring and being compassionate, then it's not selfish, because that's what we'll give to others in our daily life. And I think it happens. There are millions of opportunities in a day to be kind, to allow that compassion to flow. And we're part of it. And so is the most mundane circumstance. You're talking on the phone to someone at an office, or I went in for a blood draw, and the technician, it was packed in that room, and she was frazzled. I saw it. I know this person. I go for blood draws regularly. And so, I just waited quietly, and then she got me in, and I just without trying, I was just being kind. I know what it's like to feel overwhelmed and over, loaded. And so I just was really kind to her. And when she did the blood draw, I told her it was just a great job. I looked for ways. I wasn't doing this deliberately, all right? It isn't about me. It was what happens. Our interactions with others are critically important. And if we take time and be present with another person, we are creating world peace. And I think that's really the meaning of our life. The meaning of our life is compassion, active compassion for all beings, ourselves included, all beings. And from that active compassion, we develop wisdom. And the only way you can be wise, I don't think I'm wise. I work on it though. And I think the only way we can be wise is to look at ourselves, start with ourselves, and look at what we're doing and pay attention. And, Tenzin Palmo had this wonderful thing in one of her books where she was talking about how, she was teaching people mindfulness and their lives were becoming so much better. And then she tours around the world. And so she came back 6 months later and everything was the same. And she said, "Oh, what happened to your mindfulness?" And they said, oh yeah, I forgot. So we all forget. So what do we do to not forget? Okay. And it's just like meditation. The mind gets distracted. As soon as you recognize you're distracted, come back. You don't have to judge. As soon as you recognize you're not being kind, come back, be present. That's all. It's that simple but powerful help for this whole world. And as I said, I don't sleep well. I have a hard time sleeping often, and I also I'm physically limited in what I can do. And so what I have started doing since I've been ill is offering scriptures, reading scriptures for the benefit of the world. And it's enormously powerful. If you have something that a poem, a scripture, something you've read it for the world. Stand at your altar, light a candle, and do it for the benefit of others. It has enormous benefit for yourself and enormous benefit for the world. I don't know how to tell you, but I know it's true. I can't prove it, but it makes a difference. And I have this poem that I read, which is a Tibetan poem written in the 14th century. And one of the things he says is that when we act on selfishness, it affects us. It creates channels of disharmony. And I think that's true. But if we're kind, it helps everyone. It raises the benefit, not just to ourselves, but to everyone. Now, the Buddha was enlightened. He had the most profound physical, spiritual experience that a person apparently can have. And that's how he became a Buddha, which is considered an awakened being. The Buddha spent 40 years teaching. He wandered all over India teaching. He spent a major part of his practice generating loving kindness for the world. Here's a person who has what we can only imagine and would love to have, but don't. And he's doing the same thing when he's enlightened. And I think that's a clue to us. This is very powerful. Doing good, doing compassionate acts for other beings and ourselves is what shifts. It doesn't make the world different. It's not going to be like if we can only all be peaceful at the same moment, then everything will be all right. The world will be different. No, there is karmic, there is actions that have been set in motion. And what I think your group is trying to do is set good actions in motion. So I say, great, really powerful, do it, but do it with yourself also. And those things that you find helpful for you, then just offer it up, share it out to the universe, because it really makes a difference. And I can say that I have full knowledge that no matter what happens to me, I'm okay. And that doing that is why I'm still alive. And it doesn't mean that when I die that I'll look back and say, oh, that was a waste of time. It was not. I know it's not. You actually experience these things inside ourselves. So we get the benefit of compassion when we give it. It's a two-way street. When I do spiritual counseling with another person, and at the end of it, they're saying, oh, thank you so much. No, it's two ways. It's two ways. I don't have anything different than anybody else has. We all have Buddha nature. We all have the spark of divinity, or however you want to say it. We all have this wonderful thing that we are all looking for, and that is in fact looking for us. So there's this two-way street, and it's good to see compassion as a two-way street. I'm not giving compassion, I'm getting. We're giving and receiving are one. So it's like this incredible mutual offering. And that's why compassionate self-care is not selfish, because you're when we benefit ourselves, we benefit the world. But when we grab onto things and we want things, that's selfishness. And selfishness is the real cause for suffering in this world. So we don't have to fix it. We just have to see it and allow it to be fixed within us. So there's a lot of patience that comes. In fact, in Buddhism, this world is called the world of patience. And if you watch animals, you see that animals are enduring many difficult situations, and they are practicing patience. That's one of the things we get from animals that they offer for us, this non-judgmental patience. I myself have experienced that with animals, including wild animals. It's like, yeah, we all connect there. Life is not easy for anyone. Even people who have quote unquote everything have suffering, have dis-ease. So it's from compassion that we get that patience, that endurance, that kindness that helps us bear what is difficult. And it doesn't stop us from wanting peace for everyone. It actually encourages us. We have a bodhisattva. Bodhisattvas are enlightened beings that we, in Buddhism, we emulate, and one of them is a bodhisattva of compassion. There's another bodhisattva who is the bodhisattva of stillness in the fire. And he's fierce compassion. He actually looks I was afraid to look at that statue when I first came. Now I don't. I see him. He's beautiful. But I was afraid, okay? Fierce compassion can be frightening. But if it's compassion, then we can be helped by it or help with it. So it isn't, I hope you're getting that distinction. It's not about walking around in bliss and making everybody blissful. It's really about, oh, this person's struggling. I know struggle. And just being with them and having faith. I think that too is a big part of self-care. We have to have faith in ourselves that we will find our way, that we will open to what we need to open, and that we can be present and have faith in other people's ability, including people who are losing it, or including people who are just insane. It's just that willingness to just be with another that is profound. I was an anthropologist when I went to college, and I saw this film on primates, and there was this film, I think we're all women will like this, will relate to this. The male chimpanzees were throwing branches, they were screaming, and everybody was upset, and the female was screaming. And so the male chimpanzees calmed down. And this male chimpanzee went over to the female and he touched her on the shoulder and he patted her. And I thought, oh, yes, how human. We all need that pat on the shoulder, whether we can give it physically or not. No, but spiritually, can we just be present and offer that calming? That's what peace is. It's that willingness to just offer that pat on the shoulder in some way that's helpful to another being. And that is what our life, that's the purpose of our life, is to bring that, is to manifest that compassion for other beings. So I think that's all I want to say. I think I talked more than I intended to. I didn't even look at my notes. It's just, but I think I covered what I wanted to say, and I really would like to open it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Reverend Amanda.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, I feel it. Does anyone have any questions for Reverend Amanda? It looks like Shauna put something in. Would you like to share, Shauna, what you wrote? It's very lovely.
Oh boy, what did I write? I'm just kidding. Well, no, anyway, thank you, Reverend Amanda, very much. Yeah, I wrote it in the meeting chat box, but I was just talking about this with a friend. Yeah, it seems it's easier. It's always easier to somehow choose other people, especially I find mothers do this often. I know there's a time and a place, like, yeah, it's sacrifice, especially when you have a little baby, you're feeding and waking up, and it's such a beautiful sacrifice and a beautiful love. I think sometimes we can suffer a little bit too long or something, or it's hard to find the balance of, like, my kids are good now. They're older, they're okay. And for us as moms to find some our own joy and happiness and good things. Anyway, I don't know what my question is, but yeah, it seems like it's easier to share that with others, and then it's so hard to actually have that deep love for yourself, like on on your super bad days. Yeah, the love for your own self, or like do I really deserve it, or it's easier to give it to others. Anyway, so if you have
Well,
any comments on
yes,
that part.
I do, because love isn't about deserving. Everybody deserves love, including people who are terrible. Everybody is love, worthy of love. We have to find that in ourselves, and part of the finding of it, Shauna, I think, comes from the willingness to look at when we don't, and just be with it like we would with a friend, and just see it. Oh, when I was ordained, my ordination master knew me. I had been training as a layperson for a long time, and he knew me, and he named me Amanda. And what he said, the spiritual name of it is she who is worthy of the love of the eternal. I do not feel, I have not felt for a long time, most of my life, that I was ever worthy of love. But as I've trained with that, and as I've come to just see it when it arises, I recognize that it's not true. So why do we believe something that's not true? from habit. So how do you break a habit? Well, you just see it and let it go. See it and let it go. And that actually creates the space. And we don't have to get into an argument about whether I deserve being loved or not. We have to trust that we are loved and that we get to deepen that love. And that's what it's all about, learning how to deepen what we need inside ourselves, because it's not going to come from the outside, it's going to come from within. Yeah. So don't enter the dialogue about it, just keep seeing it when it arises and let it go as soon as you see it. Yeah.
See when you're not loving yourself, correct? Or
Correct.
when you're choosing
That's
to
right.
be more
Yeah.
in pain rather than,
Yeah,
okay,
just see it.
see it and let it go. Okay.
And let it go. Don't judge it. Just say, I say to myself, oh, isn't that interesting? Here's my old friend, self-hatred, or here's my old friend, fear, or here's my old friend, anger. And then I let it go. I just don't try and fix it. Don't push it away, and don't hold on to it. And it is our greatest teacher. That's why I say, oh, my old friend. It's actually teaching us, so that self-loathing is actually your teacher. It changes the dynamic, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Reverend Amanda.
You're welcome. Thank you. Verna.
Yeah. Do you have some advice about for people who struggle with meditation? Like, I understand that it's good for me, and when I do it, it's great, but it's difficult for me to be consistent.
Right. I understand this completely. 45 years I've been, well, 50 years, really almost. I've been meditating. It's never been easy. I have a very active mind. I would say it's only been in the last year or two that I've had long moments of stillness. But what I've found is the most important part of meditation is the coming back. As soon as you recognize the mind's wandering, come back. Now, in terms of consistency, it's just start small. Do 5 minutes every day, twice a day if you can, but do it. You know what I did for myself? I was working, I had a teenage daughter, I was in business with my husband, I was a lay minister. I had a very active life. And I made a vow that I would meditate twice a day, but that I didn't put a time limit. So sometimes I'd be getting up to go to work, and I would sit on the edge of the bed for 30 seconds and meditate, maybe a minute, but short, okay? In my nightgown, if necessary. But I always met that meditating twice a day. I still do that, even in the monastery. I still do that. And I don't let myself go to bed if I haven't meditated twice during the day. And I find that incredibly important. It's really, Myrna, it's a gift to yourself. It is part of that. You are worthy. So, you know, that I think that don't worry about it, just do it. And don't worry about the quality of it, just do it. And that really will help. So, yeah, thanks. Yeah, okay. I don't know, Donna, you're next, yes?
Yep.
You have to unmute, I think.
Mute. It's our friend and are not our friend. I don't know how to bring up my question, actually. It's a little complicated. I live in Alaska,
Yeah.
and the president was here on 9/11, and he raised a consciousness that I have about we live locally. Meditation in our hearts is very deep locally, right? It's as
Mhm.
local as we can get.
Right.
But we live globally, and you were speaking to that by how we contribute our offering every day.
Mhm.
And my sense of meditation is breathing. When I breathe in, I meditate to receive God's love. And when I breathe out, I meditate to release all that needs to go away that isn't God. And I do that day in and day out now. That's my current practice. But in the midst of all this, I'm a public-minded person who's been a member of the Unification Movement for 50 years almost. And there's a consciousness that I can contribute to this whole. I've been praying about the Russian leader because they're right across the inlet from us, the Bering Sea, right? I've been praying about him, Putin. Why is he aggressive? And I came to this point of understanding. He's a man. He needs love just like anyone else. He needs that compassion. And if I can find compassion in my heart for the aggressors, the people on the boats that are sending missiles off to test them in the end of this month in our Bering Sea, if we can find the heart, then maybe that can protect the world against war, the war that kills people.
I
Maybe Putin
think
can change his
I,
heart. I'm
yeah,
just wondering what your perception of that is.
I think everything you said is spot on until wanting a certain outcome. We can't be attached to the outcome. We just have to make the offering. This world may not survive. We are not in charge of that, but we are in charge of loving and helping it no matter what happens. And that's the freedom. Okay. Yeah.
But that's hard to do.
Of course it's hard to do. Of course it's hard to do. You think I don't have a hard time with it too? But we can't be attached to the outcome because it's bigger than we think. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
Bigger than we think. So we have to just keep coming back as soon as we see we're starting to attach to the outcome. Compassion is doesn't have a it's not qualified. It's just completely given. And just give it and don't be attached to what happened. And do our best. And that's actually how we help other beings, I think. I have the same thing. I actually had I was meditating on Putin and I just wished he would go away. And then I said, no, you can't do that. You just, and I visualized him as a young child. And I visualized, oh, that poor little kid, and that helped me. But I have the same feeling. We all want peace, but we may not get it. And so we have to be at peace with whatever happens, knowing that we're doing our part and it's not wasted. The universe does not waste what we do. Trust that. What you are offering is very important. Just don't put a price on it. The price comes from above. Yeah, thank you. Okay, Pamela. Pamela, I think you need to unmute. I've lost you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Good.
Okay. I took a lot of notes on things you've said that it's so relevant to me and my life. So I just want to give a little background and then ask my question. I was a wellness coach for about 28 years, and I practiced manual lymphatic drainage and healing touch, but I never said I'm a healer. You know, I wouldn't let people label me like that because they had healing within them that I touched, right? And so they got healed, and not instantly, but over time. So I worked in a medical setting and I saw a lot of people with disease, and they came to see me with the hopes that I would fix them. But I told them, your disease is your teacher. You got this disease through choices that you made, and it is now your teacher for love, to begin to lead a life of loving. Because if you want to stay on earth, you have to make different choices. So you ask yourself, am I loving? Is this food loving for me? And get to start caring for yourself. And often, because they were so sick and given up, you know, they would burst into tears because they never thought about loving themselves, or that life is like that, or, you know, because these are Hollywood people and they've been on the go and achieving and everything. And I said, if you're not going to stay on earth, then you want to be in the right place when you depart, so you can continue with that vibration into the next world. And you said, generate compassion, generate it. And when I think of I did all that back then, and I gave those good words and I practiced, but now I'm in my late 70s, and through aging, I've become very impatient. And, you know,
Maybe,
like, give me a,
maybe not from aging. Maybe it's coming out.
all good.
It's your teacher.
Bingo. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want to generate, I love the vibrating out into the world and embracing the world and peace and all that, starting with myself. So how, and meditation, okay, I think I'm okay with that. I have a lot of peace. But then I get impatient with and snappy, and
Right.
I don't want to be
Right.
mean spirited or anything.
Right.
So is being mean my teacher?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh,
I'm
no,
such a
no,
meanie.
no. You know, I have such a lack of energy that at times that, you know, I had really worked on my anger. I hadn't been angry in a long time, and I found myself often, you know, about to snap, about, you know, and I went to my master and I said to her, you know, I just, it's like the bottom's out of the bucket and I'm just falling, and I don't have the ability to stop being angry. And she said, if you don't have enough energy to keep your mouth closed, you need to look at it. I pass that on to you to say to yourself when you're about to snap, oh, put my energy there. Okay. It's teaching you. But the other thing is, yes, impatience, it's a great teacher, because why are we being impatient? Well, it's really, we want something to be different than how it is. So we're not really accepting.
Attachment.
Yes, it's our own attachment, our own view. And
Mhm.
it's about letting that go.
Mhm.
And it's that generation of compassion comes from within us, through us also, as you know.
Uh-huh.
So the impatience is really showing you that you are holding on to something.
Mhm.
It's really helpful to see. I find
Yeah.
impatience really helpful. You have to actually stop and look at yourself, turn towards yourself and say, what's going on here? Why am I doing this? And then just relax in the moment and be still with it.
Right.
Being
Be
still
still
with
with it.
it.
Be
Yeah.
still.
Be still with it, and then let it, you'll have lots of lessons. Sometimes the things we're impatient about actually lead us to something deeper. There's something deeper going on.
Mhm.
And it's life's little impatience that are actually, yeah, they're like these little devils that are irritating us, and we just want to sweep them away, but actually don't. Look at them. Just be still with it. And I think you'll find it really helpful, because it's going to get worse. The truth of the matter is that as we start to die, as we lose control of our life, we have a lot of struggle in that process.
Mhm.
And so this is a very important thing for you,
Yeah.
because it's about letting it all go, letting it, oh, okay, I'm not in charge here. I can't control.
What did you see? Losing control is what? What did you just say? Losing control.
I don't remember what I
Oh, okay.
said.
It's scary. You didn't say
well,
scary.
it is.
Unnerving.
Yes, yes. We want to be in control. That is an illusion. We are not in control. We are not. And I
Okay.
would say that I agree with you that someone needs to love themselves when they are ill, but they also need to understand that that love goes out to everyone. That actually,
Yeah.
I offer merit to people who have heart disease a lot, because I know how hard it is, how it impacts your life. And I'm in sympathy with that. So that compassion and love are very important for ourselves, but they have to go out too. Okay. Otherwise, we just don't get the full benefit. We are to become one with other beings and to identify with that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
you.
Kendra.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Um, oh my goodness, I am also blown away. That was my mother-in-law just you were talking to, but I am just wow, mind blown. And this understanding of our meaning of life is active compassion. And that fierce compassion, that image of the bodhisattva sitting in the fire. So being able to be connected to source so like openly, and this just beautiful connection to that higher source that already exists, right? We're just vessels, so we're just connected to it. So we can sit in the fire that's around us with another human. If they're suffering, we're with them. But in order to do that, we really do have to be with ourselves first, right? That's the self-care. That's the whole circle of it, right? Coming back to self-care isn't selfish, because we are sitting with our darkness or our negativity in order to release it, so we're open again as vessels. So
wait, one
yeah.
second here, Kendra.
Yeah.
It's really important. It's not an either or. It's not that you have to do self-care in order to do other care. You do them both simultaneously.
Oh.
You are not separate. Because that's how life is. You are going to be interacting with people, and you can't say, oh, well, please, you have to wait till I'm better at this. You know, we learn from
that is such a concept. Wow. Okay. Well,
so
yes.
it's self and others. We train for self and others. In Buddhism, we have this it's called the bodhicitta. It's the will to enlighten ourselves for the benefit of others. So we have to bring everybody along with us. And we can't
Mm.
wait till we're at a particular place because there is no place.
Oh my gosh, that's a big concept for me. Thank you. And I had one question about
Yeah.
the sitting, being with, right?
Mhm.
I do a lot of that in my practice for what I do in work and helping people be with the emotion. But how do you know when, or speak more to letting it go? Like, how long do you sit with it to be with it? And how do you know when to let it go? When does it become selfish when you're clinging? Or, how long do we sit until, is it just a natural feeling of, okay, now I'm ready to let it go? Or do we need tools to get there? That's my question.
Well, those tools actually come from meditation and from your practice. That's why you work on yourself. You experiment with yourself. You watch yourself. And it's a very interactive thing. And we all want we all want the divine pipeline from God that tells us what to do so we won't
Yes.
make mistakes. But it doesn't exist. It's not how it works. And that really what we have to listen to our heart. Obviously your intentions are pure, okay? So, but we keep looking at our intention. What was our intention here? Or is it all right? And learn from our mistakes. It's not about being perfect. It's really about being a friend to ourselves when we make mistakes. So if you're stuck, you'll see it. I've had things I carried with me that I'm 73 years old. I've just discovered. They've been with me my
Wow.
whole life. I've been looking at the wall for 50 years. But
Wow.
and that's all right. It's like when I see it, I go, oh. And my first inclination is I want to fix it and make it not happen.
Right.
And then I go, oh, no, can't do that. I just need to keep seeing it. And so now I see it every time it arises, or most time it arises. And I'm really grateful for that. It's enough. It's enough to see it. It's enough.
I see. It's gonna keep coming up, and
All
our
your
job
life.
is to just
Yes.
see it and
Yes.
accept it and come back
Yeah.
again, not
Yeah.
to try to fix it,
Yeah.
make it get out of the way forever.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay.
That's it. And then
That makes sense.
you just practice this for the rest of your life.
Wow. Oh
Nothing
my
to
goodness.
it.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're
This has
welcome.
been so amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is so rich, Reverend Amanda, but I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have time for one last question?
Yes, of course.
Okay, then I think Svetlana is next.
Yes, Svetlana, please.
Hello, my question is about sometimes when we think we're choosing self-care, our decision from can be seen by others as selfish, like because I mean time is limited, money is limited, and sometimes when we choose people close to us, even our friends, they don't like what we do, and we feel some kind of alienation from them, and my question is how much we need to explain ourselves to others, because it's kind of sometimes painful to
Okay.
Yeah.
Cut to the chase. Number one, meditation or your heart work is important. And if someone doesn't want you to do it, then you can't convince them, but you just have to do it. Okay. Your practice is your practice. You have to be true to your own heart. When I became a monk, it was very hard on my daughter. It is still hard on my daughter. It will probably never not be hard on my daughter. Okay. But I had to listen to my heart, and it was right for me to do it, and I did it. So it's really important that you do your practice, that you meditate or whatever it is you do. You have to do your spiritual practice. And if people can be patient, they'll see the benefit of that. And if they can't, then that isn't your problem. You have to be true to your heart. Now, being true to your heart can appear selfish to others. That may be the consequence. Sometimes we pay. You know what I'm saying? You can't make everybody happy. You have to make your heart happy, not your head, but your heart. You have to make your heart, you have to do what your heart's asking you to do. And then trust that when you make mistakes, you can correct them, or you can listen and say, oh yeah, I can see that was hard for you. And you know, I need to meditate. I need to do my spiritual practice. And life is very practical. Okay. I worked. I had to go to work. I had to raise a kid. You know, life is practical. The monastery is a very large place, and we work hard here. You know, it's not that oh, I can't do anything, I have to go meditate. It's not that. It's this interactive process, but always listen to your heart. Always listen to your heart. And that it's not like it's gonna solve everything, but in fact, we suffer. Life is suffering. Other people suffer. We can't change that. We can only honor our heart and then honor other people's listening to their heart, even when it's different. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you.
This is so rich, Reverend Amanda. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. It was really nice for me too. I think you're a wonderful group. Really just does my heart good to hear what you all are doing, and how my heart is with your heart.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Take care. I think we could go on all day, but I think we need to give you a break.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
thank
Myrna's
you,
going to
guys.
share just a little bit about our October meeting, and then we'll close for today, and wish you all an amazing week of peace and beyond.
Yeah, thank you all for joining. First of all, I want to say that you will receive the recording, but also I will make sure that we have the link for the Abbey, and also for previous Self-Care Isn't Selfish. We have a YouTube channel. I just want to mention about next time's okay, next time, which is Saturday, October 14th, we have another coach friend that Roseanne is been through coaching practices and trainings with, named Rebecca Boswell, and she'll be speaking about the Growth Mindset 101. So that will be on Saturday the 14th at the same time, 10 to 11:30 Pacific. So back to you, Roseanne. I think you're muted.
Thank you all for joining us. And yeah, please keep Reverend Amanda's wisdom with us. I think it has been such a gift. So thank you all. Have a lovely week. See you next time.
Thank you. It was amazing.
Great. It has
Thank
been.
you, Roseanne. I'm so glad you found her. I think you're the one that found her, right?
Yeah, because I've been to Shasta and I highly recommend it. They
Sorry,
do
what's
intro
Shasta?
workshops.
Oh, that's
Shasta
okay.
Abbey, where Reverend Amanda lives. That's how I
Okay.
met her. I've gone to retreats
Wow.
there. And yeah, it's so rich.
Wow.
It's yeah.
Perfect. Oh,
And
that's so
I think
cool.
Myrna's going to include the link. So they
Yeah.
have they have talks like this that you can get online and listen to. Once you've been to a retreat, they're open to a call. asking questions, spiritual counseling, like she mentioned. So it's a wonderful, wonderful oasis in this world, I
Yeah.
think.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, we're like basking
you.
in this beautiful, peaceful energy, aren't we?
Yes. I don't want to leave.
Yeah, none of us want to leave.